organization, how are you unified?
Yeah. The JCs is where I learned Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh, did you?
I started with San Fernando, I was part of the co-founding San Fernando Valley JCs.
I'll let you use that.
You gonna use this?
Yes, so, what came down in that meeting was, there was no agenda brought by the person who called for the endorsement convention. There was no rules for the agenda. We had other rules and another agenda, and we passed it out. Under Robert's Rules of Order, we had it voted on to accept. Originally, the person who was in charge calling for that endorsement convention did refer to Roy to give a parliamentary reason on
Ruling.
What? Ruling, excuse me. Thank you. This is why he's here. About what we had presented to the audience, and with the procedure that we went through in getting things seconded, and then it was legit to vote on by the delegates that were there. It proceeded from there so that we did have rules. We did have an agenda. And Roy was asked to rule on that to see if that was correct, and of course, it was. And at this point, a lot of people began to realize why parliamentarian procedure is important. Because I want you to know how to speak up when it's time. I'm the kind of guy who's willing to speak up and get egg on his face and look like I don't know what I'm doing. But eventually I figured it out, and you will too. But this is going to give you an advantage right now. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for Roy Atherton to come here and speak to us, and he has the paperwork that you can take home and get more informed about. So thank you very much, Roy, for coming out here today.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little bit of background to begin with. I've been to many a graduate school and I've gotten 5 degrees, so what? The point is that I've always been one willing to learn about how things actually work. And I do appreciate the questions that do come up, because sometimes I don't always know, and perhaps that person is onto something I need to research. Now, you discover that quite quickly when you're in law school. I don't know, any attorneys here?
I did go to law school.
You
but
did?
I'm not an attorney.
You're an attorney. Well, where did you go to law school?
Southwestern.
Okay, I went to Pepperdine.
In the
All
room.
right, which, by the way, is a fabulous university. It's basically was started by George Pepperdine, who owned Western Auto. But that's not the subject my wife says. But I am going to explain a couple of things. It's a Church of Christ, which is probably going to set this university apart from Stanford, from all the other ones on the East Coast, including that famous one they have over in Boston. And I think it's important that you really know what you're talking about before you even do anything. Now, Robert's Rules have been in existence since the late 1880s. And there's two different ways you can go about Robert's Rules. You can get the big book, which is what this is. This is now the 12th edition. All right? This came out in November 20th, 2020. All right? This is probably that's the 12th edition that's come out.
Wow.
But on the other hand, if you don't want to go through a reading of this, which is quite technical, I would suggest you get one of these. It's rather inexpensive. You can get it anywhere, any bookstore. You get it on Amazon. In fact, you can get both of them on Amazon if you want. It gives a real brief outline. Robert's Rules is fairly straightforward. You don't have to be an attorney to figure that out. When you learn how to shepherdize cases and statutes to actually support your position with relation to a particular case or a particular issue or a particular matter, it's not quite like that at all. It just sets down exactly who has the right to speak, when and where. Now, your chairperson back there, Scott, is really what I told him at one time, a traffic cop. He's out in the middle of that intersection. attempting to prevent everybody from running into each other, screaming at each other. And I've been to some of these conventions, like last year, the CRA convention, where you had this entire group of individuals sitting in the middle of the audience, going away at it, and poor Johnny was standing up there trying to maintain order, And the only way you can maintain order is two ways. You hit the gavel to get everybody's attention. If that doesn't work, you call to the sergeant at arms, and I'm assuming this group has a sergeant at arms, to quietly escort them out the door. Now, I've seen that happen before. In fact, we had that happen several years ago, maybe 2 years ago, with one particular individual in our SLERA meeting, because she didn't know enough to sit down and behave herself. And that when she raises a question, it'll be recognized if it's appropriate as far as the chair is concerned. The rules that I want to give out to you today, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but I want you to take the time to read these at home. Robert's rules really lay out how you set up your agenda, the format for that. It's very simple. It's you have opening of the meeting, followed by prayer, salutation, whatever, flag salute, then you get into the minutes, past minutes, get it approved, and that just takes a motion, and you get it approved with a second, and it gets approved. And then you go on into treasury report, committee reports, standing committee reports, any of that sort of thing, before you get into old business. And usually old business covers everything that wasn't settled in the previous meeting. And sometimes you'll have a motion that's on the floor that hadn't been resolved, that's been tabled to the next meeting. So you bring that out under old business. So you go through all of that, it's very simple. Then you get into what we call new business. And new business is anything new that comes up, such as the items that Scott was suggesting today that you need to pay attention to, all right? Something new. It's under the new business that you're likely to get some motions to do something. And what you do is you stand, raise your hand, and move to do something. Immediately you sit down. Scott recognizes that, and you gotta have a second. And he'll state what the motion is, and make sure that the secretary records it, if they have a recording secretary. And then you'll ask for a second. If there's a second, fine. If there isn't, it dies for lack of motion. All right? But if it's approved, then you get into the so-called debate. And usually the person that makes the motion is the one who's going to actually explain. They'll have so many minutes to do that. Ordinarily, Robert's rules suggest no more than 10 minutes to debate either pro or con. Ordinarily, you would assume 5 minutes just to get your point across, all right? And then the next speaker is somebody who's opposed to it, and you go back and forth until finally nobody further to be heard on the motion. Once that's done, then you call for the question, all right? Previous question, previous motion, and then you vote on it, okay? It's that simple. Sometimes you get a little confusing when somebody adds an amendment to the motion or an amendment to an amended. So you might have 2 or 3 of these down the road. Then you have to take one at a time, okay? And you start with the last one, get that resolved, move up to the next one, get that one resolved, finally get to the main motion, and then you're all settled with that, then you call for a vote on it. And then somebody might say, after you've taken the vote, division of the House. Or, as it says in here, division of the assembly. Well, you're in assembly. What does that mean? You gotta retake the vote. And this time, instead of a show of hands or paper ballots being collected in, you may have to stand, all right? So we'll call for everybody to stand, and at that time, before he even does that, and in the very beginning of the meeting, you want to always make sure you establish the quorum. What is the quorum? Well, the quorum is going to be the total number of people I have in the meeting, of the membership that are in attendance, and in most cases, you're going to have majority vote or 2/3 vote, all right? So depending on the type of motion you're dealing with, in most cases, it'll be a majority vote. So if you have a division of the House, that individual who called for that gets immediate attention. Scott checks with the secretary, the recording secretary. They have a teller who's going to now count and have everybody stand, and he's going to knock off heads. And as he knocks off a head, each one sits down. Gets the total number, she gets it recorded, then he calls for those opposed. You go through this whole thing. And sometimes it can get a little bit of fishiness might go in there, but who knows? You know, most of the time it should go fairly well. Anyway, what I've got here is a basic, half a dozen pages here on the main motion, debating on the motion, secondary motions, and then you also have other types of motions which can come, such as privilege motions. These are motions such as raise a question of personal privilege. And then you state, when you're recognized by the chairperson, what that motion is. What is it you want to do? Well, Your Honor, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, off you go. All right, you're excused. But that's usually what this is all about. Other little motions like adjournment are very simple. You just, when there's no further business, you call for adjournment. Somebody will call for an adjournment, get a second on it, and you take your vote. And it's not debatable, it's not amendable, and that's the end of that. So, what I would like to do is let you have all of this, and I will have, you can either come up here afterwards, pick up a copy for yourself if you like, or somebody can hand them out, if you'd like to hand them out. Who would I hand these out? Anybody? I don't care. There you go. Take that one, just divide it in half and go ahead. Now what I did was, I basically took both of these books and I combined them together so everybody can actually read and go through them themselves. I want you to be educated on how Robert's Rules of Order actually operate. Now you're a small group. If there's a large group like that convention last year, this is very important to keep order. Usually you don't have Robert's rules to be addressing your board of director meetings because there are only 5 or 6 of you. So all you're going to do is discuss the issues and vote on them, but all the issues you vote on have to come to the general membership for final approval. They hear the motions, and there will be somebody who will actually bring together to form a vote, take the vote, and you've got the approval of the entire assembly for that particular motion or any motion that comes from the board of directors. You got to remember, the board of directors does not have the last say in what is approved. You, the general membership, has the last say in any motion that is brought before you. All right? I have here a table of rules governing particular orders relating to motions. Well, this is really concise. This will give you all that you need to know. Main motions, adjournment, adopt, amend, etc. Debates, closing the debate, laying on the table. There is one particular motion that sometimes comes up, and that's suspend the rules. What does that mean? Does that mean you suspend the entire bylaw? No, not at all. If there's a motion on the floor that is addressing a particular issue, and you have a bylaw provision that interferes with that motion in some way, shape, or form, you can make a motion to suspend the bylaws on that particular bylaw for that motion only in order to get this to pass. And there's always good reason for that if you're going to do that. But you got to be careful on that, because you can't suspend the whole entire bylaw. And I'm assuming you guys have bylaws, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's all of that. Finally, I have here how a meeting is conducted and recorded by whom.
Aren't you gonna pass those out?
Yeah, I'll pass those out too. this goes over everything from the start of how you start your meeting itself, how you set your quorum, and standing order of business, incidental motions. It's almost repetitive, but quite frankly, it's something I would like all of you to take the time to read when you have a chance. At the end of the day, when you've read all of this and you fully understand it, and I'm sure you will, because you're all intelligent, the only thing I would suggest is buy the short version. This is the revised version, okay? You don't need to get the big book. The big book really goes into detail. That's not necessary. Now, Scott, I don't know if you guys have a parliamentarian yet.
No.
No. I advise any organization, any group, large or small, to find somebody who has the time or is certified, doesn't have to be certified, but has had experience and thoroughly understands the rules. To have that person aside. Now, let me say this about a parliamentarian. This person is an advisor to the chairperson only. He's not an advisor to the assembly. He's not an advisor to anybody in particular. All right? When the chairperson gets in trouble, and I've seen that happen more than once, he'll come to me, who will be sitting right next to him, and he'll want me to talk to him about where the mistake is, what did he assume that was incorrect? All right, what is the rule on this issue? All right? And I'll tell him, and I'll give him the citing. And then he can go ahead and address the group, the assembly, what the rule is for a motion, and that's usually where we get into these kinds of problems, all right? It's important to have the parliamentarian available, and I would suggest even then, he could even join the Parliamentarian Association. There's 2 or 3 of them nationwide. You can get to one locally here. In fact, one of my wife's good friends who passed away a couple of years ago, yeah, she was certified parliamentarian for many years here in Los Angeles. But you don't have to go to that extreme. It's not really an extreme. I would suggest, yeah, if you want to learn more about parliamentary procedures, rules of order, and all that sort of thing, by all means, if you have the time, do it. Meet once a month, twice a month at these meetings, and you learn something, all right? And it goes farther into detail than really is what is necessary for a group of this size, okay? By the way, I'd like to introduce my wife. I should have done so earlier. This is Ann Atherton. She's past president of the secretary of the Westchester Delray Republican Women's Federated. She's also president of the one of her big organizations, which I won't tell you about. But
Politically incorrect.
yeah, politically incorrect, right. And then she's also treasurer for the Los Angeles Civil War Roundtable. She has a lot on her plate, besides handling caseloads for an attorney who's debilitated on a part-time basis. She's been a paralegal for over 42 years and knows the law very well. Very, very well. Although she'll criticize me for that, but it's true. Okay, so anyway, let me have this one handed out. This is a brief. That really is good. Now, I might also tell you that none of this is taken out of context insofar as protecting the copyright of the book. It's there to assist in educating you, which is legal, and doesn't violate copyright in any way, shape, or form. So make sure that you read through that. It does give you a real good summation of all the various types of motions. And on the last page, it also gives you all the various details that explain what you can do and not do and why a particular position is taken as far as motion is concerned. So again, remember that Robert's rules really deal with motions, all right? That's number one. Right. Number two, how you organize your meetings, all right? Whether you pass motions or not, okay? And that's about it. Did we hand this one out? Okay.
Three handouts.
Yeah. We should all have 3 handouts.
Sorry to bother you, Jerry. Can you get her one?
Okay,
Or she's,
Did I miss you again?
yeah.
it's all right.
All right, any questions, any comments, any concerns? You do, I'm sure.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, I don't want to interrupt.
That's all right.
Are you're going to a next section, or have you covered everything you wanted to cover?
I've covered as much as I think is necessary at this point. Well, here's the whole point. You need to read all this before you, I'm behaving like a teacher. All right?
Sure.
There was a time for 5 years, I was a lecturer for Loyola University. I was working on my doctorate. And I always wanted my students to read the bibliography I handed out. Be familiar with the cases before I start asking you questions. All right? That is the way to do it. It doesn't do me any good to explain it in detail because, number one, with this, you're going to snore. You're going to fall asleep. I've seen this happen. Not with this subject, with others. So I suggest you read this very carefully. And if time comes that where you want me back here, I'll start answering some questions to help you through it. But it's very simple, yeah.
I do have a question, regardless. So
Go ahead.
you can't get out of it. So, but no, I mean, this is more of like your interest experience. So, did you see the fight over the speakership vote? Were you watching that when that happened in the House of Representatives, or the McCarthy fight?
McCarthy?
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't watch it. I
Oh.
have a tendency, I do not watch, well, number one.
Microphone. Go ahead.
Number one, my wife and I haven't had any subscriptions to Dish, cable TV, any of that stuff. If I want to watch the news, I'll listen to talk radio, 870 or 790.
The reason I asked is, you see rules being bandied about all the time. That's why. So,
Most of those are House rules.
is that different from Robert's rules?
Oh, they're very different from Robert's rules. Oh, yeah.
They're Thomas Jefferson rules.
There you go.
That's true.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So they
It
said
is.
those.
Yeah, it
Okay.
comes all from Thomas Jefferson. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like vacating the chair and all that
A lot
stuff.
of what
Okay.
you see going on doesn't have anything to do with Roberts. In fact, they don't even know who Henry Roberts is. All right?
Cool.
And he's the one that's actually done this is Henry Roberts III. All right? And here we have the 12th edition. Any other questions?
Yeah. After a motion's been made and seconded, should the chairman enter the debate?
Yes, immediately. Once a motion has been made and seconded, then he gets into the debate. And usually after he makes sure that the secretary has it down correctly, he recites the motion, and then he goes to the maker of the motion. Your motion. Just like that.
Does he actually debate the motion?
No.
That's-
Chairperson does not partake in the debate in any motion brought before the assembly on the floor. Like I said before, he's nothing more than a traffic cop. All right?
He's not supposed to. Right.
That's right, he's not supposed to. His opinion does not matter. The opinion that does matter is the opinion of the assembly.
Good.
Got it?
That's what it's about.
That's what it's all about.
Must be.
It's not dictatorship.
Yeah, remember that, Scott.
I mean,
You and I both know that there are people who address the subject as chair, and there's really no way to stop that.
Oh, yes, there is.
All right, what's the secret?
without using a gun. No violence. Oh, no. But that's a serious issue. Remember in Congress, they would shoot at each other and start stabbing each
Start
other.
off with a challenge, the decision of the chair.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah, and then you get a second and then you go to it.
Yeah, certainly that's how you overrule their rulings, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I've been in so many meetings where the chair at the California Republican Party Convention,
Oh,
the
yeah.
chair calls
last
for
year
yes,
in,
no.
what was that, April or May? I think it was April. It was April.
Yeah.
Last year in April. Down in
Microphone.
Wayne Park or Anaheim. I guess it was Anaheim. I don't remember where it was. I remember that. And the point I'm going to make to you is how many times did the chairperson, Patterson's parliamentarian, get into debate with a parliamentarian who's out there in the audience who had to come up, and they have a little disagreement.
I've had to do that before on bylaws, but it's not a perfect world, I guess is what I'm
Never
trying to
is.
say. And you can be frustrated. I've been frustrated by, I was frustrated at not the last one, but the one before that, where the chair ruled against a bylaw provision. They basically said, my way and not the bylaws, and there was an appeal decision of chair and it lost. And so what that meant is that we had, I guess, a de facto suspension of the rules on that bylaw.
Well, I wasn't there. Sometimes what happens is you get a challenge to the decision of the chair, gets seconded, and then the person that made the challenge expresses his disapproval of what the chair said, all right? Eventually, it gets to a vote, but
Right.
before it does, you're gonna have a debate on that decision he made, or she made. And, it's a toss of the dime.
Yeah.
If the audience, the members were paid members, by the way, not everybody in the assembly, if they're just there as visitors, are entitled to a vote. They're not. And of course, on the other hand, we're talking about delegates,
Right.
associate delegates, proxy, and so forth. But, like I say, it's a toss of the dime, the nickels. Up in the floor, up in the air it goes, and down where it lands, who knows, heads or tails. You cannot control for that.
Nope.
And you're gonna have to accept it, that's all. What choice do you have? Get the gun out? No,
You have to
no.
accept it, yeah.
Yeah, get the gun.
Well, believe me, I've felt that a lot anyway, because I am a lifetime member at NRA, so you can imagine what I'm thinking when I
Oh,
hear all
there you-
this crap going on,
Yeah,
Anyhow, any other questions?
right behind you.
Right behind you.
Oh, yes, right behind me.
I want to make sure I understand. Okay, so the chairperson, who is that? Is that the president or is that someone that's chosen? or-
That's the chairperson. In this case, we're talking about the president,
so
okay?
the chairperson.
Yeah,
Okay.
whoever the leader of the group is,
The one conducting the meeting.
that's right.
Oh, conducting the meeting.
This could be a committee meeting, for example, the chairperson of the committee.
Okay.
All right.
So let's say that somebody says, I make a motion to do something, and someone else says, I second. And then a third person says, I don't think we should do that, I think we should do something else. And so the debate, the person that made the motion, debate, and the person that said, I don't think we should do that, those are the two people that, and not the president doesn't come.
Well, this happens in board meetings, I know that for a fact. But when you're in a general membership meeting and somebody makes a motion, if that motion gets seconded, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It is then time for the debate. Now, if that person thinks he says or she says that, I don't think that motion should be made, she can make that expression on the con side of the debate.
Yeah.
She can debate against that. That's her privilege, but she does that when she is recognized to do so by the chairperson.
Okay.
So you can only do that if you're seconded. So
That's
you better
right.
have someone behind you. If you object, or you want something in the meeting today, you say, I want to talk about what we're going to do with churches and getting ballot harvesting. Well, someone has to say, Rick has to say, I second that. In which case, we have to discuss it.
But you have to address
Vote
it as,
on,
I move that we discuss or we address this issue regarding churches, whatever it is.
then we
Get
have
a
to vote
second.
on it.
Then after you had gotten a second, then you start the discussion, the debate.
Now, the person that says.
Well, does it have to be voted on by the members to start that discussion?
If you don't have a second, it dies.
Okay.
But if
So,
you get a second, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Arthur.
Arthur.
Yes.
Good.
Good.
King Arthur.
That's
All
right.
right, and Arthur makes a
He
motion.
sure acts that way.
To discuss whatever it is, having to do with Ukraine, for example. He won't get a second immediately. He'll have somebody who's gonna second that, okay. Now we have a motion on the floor. That's called a pending motion. It's pending to be passed. But before you pass it, you have to have a debate. So he will air his discussion about that very briefly, 5 minutes or less or whatever.
20.
Yeah, right. And then whoever's against that motion will make their expression about that. And you go back and forth till finally nobody else has anything further to say about it. I sense you're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, or standing up, or where's the ballots, you know? There's three basic ways of doing this when it comes to voting.
I stepped on her question. Does that answer your question?
So the whole purpose of this is to keep order.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
I just wanted to understand, so
That's okay.
we're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm glad she's paying attention.
Yeah.
Well, she has to.
She better.
For our benefit.
Right.
For our benefit.
We're gonna have long
Great.
minutes here.
Mr. Atherton, could you, step aside and hand the mic to, our chair? I'd like to make a motion.
Wait, I got a question.
Wait, he'll get it back, but I got a motion right now.
Can I have a point of personal privilege?
I don't hear a second.
I had
Hey,
to make
hey,
the motion.
hey, hey, hey.
I had to make the
Hold
motion.
on, one at a time.
I don't want to embarrass you, so if you hand him the motion, if you would hand him the mic, you won't be embarrassed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's your motion?
No, that's not my motion. I want him to hand.
If
the
I had
mic
a
so I can
dime.
make the motion. You want me to make the motion before you hand him the mic?
Go right ahead, make a motion.
Just do it.
I move that.
I move that we reimburse Roy Atherton his cost for producing all these, these valuable paperwork for us.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to
Wait,
reimburse
you
Roy
remember?
Atherton the
Okay.
cost of all the copies that are right before you. That's assuming that I present a bill to you, right? Because you have no idea, it could be $100.
We have to have a discussion, don't we? We have to have a discussion.
We're gonna have a discussion.
We're gonna have a discussion, okay. All right.
Because someone might say, I'm not voting for this unless
Okay,
it's Bill.
okay, no, that's okay, I got your point, okay. It has been seconded, what's your name?
Jerry.
By Jerry. Okay, now, we have a motion on the floor
Write
to
that down.
reimburse the presenter with X number of dollars for his expenditure on all the Xeroxing that took place. All right, your vote.
Yeah, I just want to say that I didn't say X number of dollars, I didn't say anything, I just said reimburse him.
Yeah.
And I think these are very valuable, this is very valuable information, which I definitely want to read. But I also know in the past, when I've had to do these things, it turns into somewhat of an expense. And I'd rather not abuse our presenter by expecting him to not only present to us, spend his time to do that, but to also have to put out money that we could reimburse him for. So I, again, reiterate that we need to reimburse him for his
Okay,
expenditures.
I don't, if I'm the chair.
hold on, I didn't recognize you
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Wait a
So
minute.
you are the chair, okay, Stan.
Thank you. All right, those voting against this?
Wait, the debate still continues, doesn't it?
We're on the debate right now.
He's
Okay,
conducting the debate.
but wait a minute, aren't you the chair? Aren't you the president?
no, no.
Oh, you're giving it over to him
No,
now.
he has the podium.
Arthur.
Well, he's the one getting paid, isn't that like corrupt?
Where's the stars and arms around here?
Right here.
There's like a little, there's a,
He might be shorter than Arthur, but he's a mighty man.
isn't
All
this,
right,
isn't there
pay
a little,
attention, Arthur.
is there a little unethical?
Pay attention.
I mean,
My dad always told me, keep your mouth shut, your eyes focused, and your ears sharp.
well, he wasn't my dad,
You'll
so
learn a
there.
lot. Okay, all right. So far, I've already got the speaker, the maker of the motion to speak on the motion. Who speaks against? Yes?
As the head bean counter here, I would like to know what the bottom line is going to be before we take the vote.
Okay. All right. Others in favor?
In favor?
In favor of the motion. Go back to favor of the motion.
I just simply say I'm in favor.
Okay.
All right. Those against? Those against? Don't talk. Don't talk.
Okay.
Anybody against? Arthur?
Okay, am I allowed to talk? No?
Are you
Okay,
against? Are
okay,
you
yeah, I am against, okay.
You're against?
Good, we've had other people show up and they didn't get reimbursed. That's the only thing I would put up.
Good point.
Okay, that's the reason
All
why.
right. Any other?
You know, you didn't get reimbursed, other people didn't.
Paperwork.
That's okay. Any other?
I'm playing along.
Hey, I don't have a gavel, please. Are there any other individuals to address the motion
Still have to be the
on the
bad
floor,
guy.
which is to reimburse Mr. Atherton for the expense of his Xeroxing? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes?
Does the my question is, does the presenter even want to be reimbursed?
They never asked me.
Because if the presenter doesn't want to be reimbursed, then why are we reimbursing?
You have to ask the boss.
Okay, I gotta ask the boss now. You're
Yeah.
voting against this?
The wife.
Well, I would like to amend the motion.
Oh, man.
Oh, we have to.
Do you have a second? I need a second.
We haven't heard a motion yet.
All right, what's the
To
motion?
specify a dollar amount. I mean,
Okay, do we have a second?
Wait, no, I'm not seconding it.
Well, you're out of order.
She's not a member.
Hold on. Hey, Scott, where's your gavel?
It's in my car.
That's a good place for it.
I know.
All right, shh, quiet
can
house.
I interrupt a minute?
Yes, you may.
Okay, Roy, could you give us a dollar figure as to what you think you spent on the paper and the toner?
20 bucks?
No, it's a ream of paper, that's for sure. It's probably a ream and a half of paper. What's the ream running these days? 6 something a ream, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, I just bought a whole box over at Staples. It was $54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Costco.
So what,
I stopped going to Costco. I got tired of walking out of there with 2 shopping carts full of stuff I didn't need.
That's your fault.
Oh, yeah. Smart time. Okay, hold on. Hold on. All right, make a motion. Come on,
the
make
ream of
an
paper
amendment.
and toner, don't you think maybe $20 would be sufficient?
You're the boss.
Well,
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, just leave it at that. Do we have a second of her motion?
What was her motion again? Please restate it.
That we state a dollar amount.
Well,
Um,
You gotta do more than just that.
Just give us the dollar amount.
Just give the dollar.
$20.
$20.
Okay, do I get a second to that motion? This is on the amendment. Got a second back here?
I second the $20 motion.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, now, let's have a.
Randy
little
said
debate.
seconded it.
Let's have a little.
I'm helping
debate
out the
about that.
secretary.
Who votes? Okay, you wanna speak to that one more time?
No, I just think, $20 would be sufficient. 'cause
Okay,
that would be
you're
for
fine.
ream of paper and the toner.
All right, who's against that motion for the amendment?
Against it?
Against it? Anybody?
let me, just for the purpose of this debate, I think, $20 may be very generous, right? Earlier, we talked about a bill, presenting a bill, and we pay the bill, right?
Wait a minute, are you speaking for or against the amendment?
I'm speaking against the amendment.
Okay, good. Do we have anybody else to speak for the amendment now?
Okay, I'll speak for it.
All right, speak for it.
Yeah, I'm willing to adjust because I think, I'm willing to meet you halfway. I think giving something and going with what Claude had said, we need to have a number rather than just let's pay for it without knowing. We're not Congress after all, okay? We ought to know.
All right.
We're not Ukraine, okay?
Any other discussion?
I was gonna ask you earlier, when, not regarding this, but when is it time to say point of order? But that's another question.
When
What
is
I wanna
what?
know is,
Point of
can
order, that's not-
only
that's
people who
different.
are members here can vote and suggest things like that.
That's when you bring up point of order.
That's right. That's what the point
And
of
he's not a
order.
member either, so why is he the chairman?
Oh, you're catching
But
on.
he's the speaker.
Yeah, you're catching on.
But he's not a member.
He's the speaker.
That's right.
That was my problem.
Okay.
She's not.
Are you raising this as a point of order?
Huh?
Yes.
Are you raising this as a point of
I
order?
guess, yes.
All right, your point?
Was that she's not a member to make that,
To
suggestion.
make the motion, right.
Okay, do you have a second? Well, we already have a second on that. Any other speakers on that
I'm just
motion?
being devil's advocate.
Can he?
I know what you are, that's fine. All right, any other speakers?
Okay, then I have another point of order.
Point of order.
Hold on.
Point of
Your
order. We should have only our members vote on this, the Torrance, Lamita, Palos Verdes Republican Assembly.
Right.
So if you're not a member, you can't raise a hand.
You're gonna put a member of another chapter.
No, that's a different chapter.
Different chapter.
And we
Because it's
judge
not
it
that
in our
chapter's
own,
money
just like
paying,
we break
it's
it
this
down.
chapter.
Okay.
Okay, I have a point of
Hold on.
point of information.
Hold on. Scott,
Education.
Scott, don't explain it to me, just make the motion. I move,
Do it, Scott.
Do it.
Do it.
To,
Well, wait a second, this is
Limit
point of order.
voting-
We're in the
limit
midst
voting
of.
to-
what am I making a motion on?
all right, this is gonna be amendment added to the amendment that she's supposed to be brought up.
She's out
I'm
of
about to
order.
run out of
She's
energy,
out of
folks,
She's
so.
out of order.
Okay,
There's
shh.
no amendment.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. She's out of order, so that amendment dies. So we're back to just the main motion.
Okay, but point of order,
Hold on.
you're not a member
We're
either.
back to the main
Well,
motion.
no,
What is your point?
she's appointed
My
chair.
point of order is you're not a member of this assembly. So how can you be the speaker? How can you be the chair?
Hold the mic.
Wait a minute. We need to. What's the next step?
He's right, he's holding the mic.
But so what? So then we got to go above that to. I appeal the decision of the chair because you're not a member. So how can you be the chair?
You need a second.
I need a.
Who got
I.
a second as a-
Oh, thank you. I got a.
All right.
Yes, I am.
All right, what's your point now?
Okay, you're not a member, so how can you be chairing this meeting in the first place?
Because I'm the speaker.
No,
Okay,
because he's,
but you're not a member of the club.
He's made a ruling. He's made a ruling now.
Yeah.
You listen to what he said. He's made a ruling. You have to appeal that.
I'm appealing the ruling. I don't have a second.
Just a second.
All right.
All right. So explain your ruling.
My ruling is that you shouldn't be running this because you're not a member.
Okay, good. All right, do I have any speakers against that ruling?
Yes,
Yes?
because you're the educational speaker, giving us a great example right here.
Okay.
And you're able to handle all these objections or endorsements, and that's great. That's why we want you to do this. I can do that too, but I want you to do it because your broadness of a knowledge is much greater than mine, or even Rick's for that matter, which is hard to believe.
Wow. Do you want to appeal that ruling?
So that's why I'm in favor of you holding the
Okay,
the podium.
any against this?
No, I was gonna say that I would like a member to move to suspend that rule so that you can be the.
Well, then make it. You move
Well,
to
I'm
suspend.
I'm not a member of this
He's not a
chapter.
member.
I'm a member of a
And
different.
we're in the midst of an appeal. You can't. do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, you can suspend it.
Well,
if you want.
I'm trying to get a member to make a
You
motion.
can.
Okay, so far, we have a ruling over here challenging the ruling.
Yes.
We have to,
Okay, do I have any speakers against that challenge?
I've already done mine.
Any speakers against
He
that
did.
challenge? Seeing none, since you're ready to vote on his decision to challenge the chair, right?
Other than mine, I gave it
Yeah,
against
you
it.
did. You gave it
I
against
gave
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to challenge the chair?
Point of order,
Your
Mr.
point?
Chair. My point is that the motion here is to sustain the decision of the chair. And if you're gonna vote with Arthur, you vote no. If you're gonna vote for your ruling, you vote
Right.
yes.
That's right.
Are you going to explain it?
We're voting right now on his rule.
Right, but most people would have voted yes, which would meant to sustain the decision of the chair. And
Well-
I'm sure you're not that devious.
I'm sure you're all devious. It's all right.
Okay, would you state your,
Okay. Okay. I move that you are no longer the chair because you're not a member. You should be removed as chair because you're not a member of the club.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against?
No.
No?
I think we need a count. What's the motion
Let's
for
call
that?
a division of the
We need a
House.
division of the house because
Okay.
I don't know.
All those, that's right, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
What-
Let's see if you know your hand.
What are we in favor of? Point of,
Removing him as chair.
Removing me as the chair.
but aren't we appealing a decision of the chair? What are we doing?
Yeah, he's appealed the decision of the chair.
Right,
the
and
appeal.
And
you
he-
know,
he made
and
his
you know
motion.
this, and you know this.
Oh, I see. Is that what's going on?
In order for him to prevail, the noes have to prevail, not the yeses.
Oh, I see. Is that so? Now we got another reason to get rid of him, everybody.
We're not doing anything yet.
We're not doing anything yet.
No, no. I made it very clear. My motion is that you should be removed
Okay.
as chair. That's the motion.
But he ruled that he's valid as chair. You say he's not.
So I'm appealing that
You're
ruling.
repealing that ruling. So if
Okay.
you want Arthur's appeal to pass,
Yeah,
you have to vote no.
I see.
Because
Against
the
his.
mission.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
motion
yeah,
in a decision such as this.
yeah, right.
Appealing decision chair
Okay.
is to sustain the chair's ruling.
Yeah,
Sustaining the chair's ruling means he's the chair.
he's paying
So you vote
attention.
yes.
There you go. You're
All
right.
right.
Yes.
Well,
If
great.
you want Arthur's way, you have to vote no.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for clarifying that.
All those in favor of Arthur's motion, raise your right hand.
I'm sustaining the decision of the chair.
I know you are.
That would be yes.
That's a yes.
That's a yes. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Or all those against, raise your hand. All those against, come on. Holy cow. Nobody's interested?
Well,
And now we see how the games are played.
You asked for yes in the beginning because at first you went to him.
Yeah.
And you said,
I still got more votes.
Wait, you're no longer the chair.
Go over the chair.
Okay, so go.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
He's no
Chairman.
longer the chair, he lost.
Get up there.
come on.
Get up there.
I asked for a recount.
Can you do that?
What's the prevailing
I,
side?
motion
Oh,
second.
you're
No.
right. You can reconsider because you were on the
reconsider.
prevailing side, yes.
You can make a motion.
Yeah,
Ask, motion to reconsider,
Motion to reconsider, recount,
the appeal, the decision.
yeah, the appeal of the decision of the chair.
say a second.
I second.
He's second.
Coercion.
But those were 2 of the 3 votes.
Okay, the motion has been made to, sustain the appeal of the chair, is that what you're saying?
Reconsider.
Reconsider the appeal
The
of the
decision.
chair, reconsider the appeal of the chair, all right? All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand.
You're sustaining the decision of the chair.
Yep.
Which is opposite Arthur.
Uh-huh,
1, 2,
Okay.
3.
yeah, make a count.
Okay. Oh, now you're all paying attention.
Now, the question is, how many did you get? 6?
9.
9? How many members are in here?